Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and today I want to talk to you in this video about exploring, about hitting new ground, about finding new places. And I'm going to do a video on research, and we'll get into the details of research. And research is important. In fact, I've done some research for here, and that's part of leading into my exploration. But research that you do at home and exploration go hand in hand, and you can't hardly have one without the other, because if you just go out and wander around in a place and you don't know anything about it beforehand, your chances are not so great. You'd have to be really, really lucky. On the other hand, if you research all kinds of places but you never actually get out into the field, you're not going to find anything with that either. So this is something that you got to do both and so I'll do a separate video on research at home, but I'm doing this video on actually getting out into the field and getting in there and doing some stuff and actually finding things. Now, when you're out in the field, of course, you have to have things that you're looking for, whether it's old-timer workings or whether it's hard rock workings, whatever it is, you got to be looking for some things. And if you have things that you're locked into and you're looking for, it's more likely to be a more productive search. Now, what you're looking for might be a certain geology, that you're looking for quartz or certain kinds of rock or certain kinds of rock contacts. When you know what you're looking for, your chances of success go up. Because I've talked about this before, in every mining district, there's a favorable rock type or favorable contact of two different kinds of rocks, and it's those things that lead to the geology that has gold, and that gives you stuff to look for. Now sometimes, like I say, it's old-timer workings. Maybe there's an old hydraulic pit or something like that. And one of the things about keeping your eyes open is seeing things that you hadn't noticed. Now this particular trip, I was out and I was happened to drive on some of the roads up here, and I just happened to look off through the trees at just the right time, and I saw some old hydraulic workings that some old timers had done way back in probably the late 1800s. They had brought ditches and water and washed the sides of hillsides away, and I could see the piles of stacked rock that they left behind. And that's going to be a great place for me to go prospect in the future. I have a plan of action for this particular trip, and having a plan of action of testing different areas and knowing what to look for, that can help you a lot. So I suggest that when you do your research at home and you get ready to come out to an area, have certain things you're going to check, but keep your eyes open in case there's things that you didn't know about, like those old hydraulic workings. Those should be pretty productive, and I'll get out there sometime this summer and go over those things. They were a ways from the road. I could just barely see them through the trees. So that was a pretty good thing. I'm really excited about that. But I gotta check the areas that I'm doing. So far, I admit, I've checked areas and I haven't found anything but just scattered few bullets and trash and that kind of stuff. But that's reality. If you go and check something and it doesn't pan out, you have to have the perseverance to hang in there, to get back and find the gold, because if you don't have any perseverance, you're going to get wiped out the first time that you don't have any. You have a day with bad luck, you get skunked, oh, I give up. You can't do that as a prospector. You got to get out and have the perseverance, keep your eyes open, test places, have a plan of action, and it'll really be good. Now, I mentioned this hydraulic workings that I saw through the trees. I took a picture. Let me show you the picture, and you can see how hard it is to see them.
So this is what I could see through the trees. Yeah, you could see there's a whole lot of trees. It's very dense. The trees are burned. The stumps are black. The branches are light colored. And you can see some green in the background. Yeah, there's some grass and weeds growing back there, but there's not a lot visible. And that's why I've driven on this road before and never noticed that there were workings over there. Let me show you where the workings are. The workings are right in the center of the photograph. And, now in person, you can kind of see in these areas that I've circled that there are stacks of boulders, that someone has piled up rocks that indicate workings, and that's what I saw. Was the stacks of boulders indicate that somebody has done some hydraulic mining, ground sluicing type of operation here, and that's a favorable thing to get out and prospect around and maybe find some good gold. Let's take a look at some examples of old workings to better help you recognize them in the future. Here's some piles of stacked rocks that I found indicating a small working in Alaska. And you can see that old-time miners, the rocks that were too big to go in their sluice box went to one side or the other. Probably the path or the cleared path straight in front of me was where their sluice box was. And then in the distance, you can see the bedrock, and I took dozens of small nuggets off the surface of that bedrock. Stacked rocks can take on very different appearances in different areas. Here, the ground is fairly flat, and this is the bottom of an ancient river channel that was worked by the old-time miners. And again, the cobbles too big to fit in their sluice box were tossed aside. And here the cobbles are virtually 100% quartz. They're rounded quartz cobbles. But that's just because of the geology and the nature of the ancient channel that flowed through here. Here's a picture of a stream channel, an ancient river channel that was gold bearing and was worked by the old timers. And you can see there's a huge area of piles of cobbles and rocks and kind of stuff. All the light colored material in the distance is all piles of cobbles and rocks that the miners couldn't put through their sluice box. And these old ancient channels in California, they cover tens of thousands of acres in total, not any one working, but all of them combined. And it really are a huge area, and that's in part why huge amounts of gold were taken out of here. And it's not always that the piles of cobbles are on some flat area of an ancient river. Sometimes you'll see piles of cobbles like this going down the slope of a mountain. In this particular area, there were gravels that were ancient glacial moraines, and these were gold bearing, and the miners washed away the gold bearing ancient moraines, and the cobbles that were too big to go in the sluice box got tossed in a pile, and the gold was recovered as they worked the area with their hydraulic mining or ground sluicing. Sometimes the areas that the miners work were perched up above modern streams and rivers. This is a large bench area alongside a gold-bearing river that the miners worked the gravel and left, of course, as you can see, the piles of boulders and cobbles. The bedrock areas of this might be very productive. And of course, the piles of boulders and cobbles don't have to be in some area where there's plenty of water. This is a very dry area in West Africa that I photographed. And there's lots of areas that were dug and worked here. This hill yielded a lot of gold. And, you get piles not from hydraulic mining, but from dry working, whether it's dry washers or other blowing techniques that were used to extract the gold. Sometimes the indicator that you're looking for won't be stacks of boulders that were worked by old placer miners, but instead maybe some mine dumps that were worked by old hard rock miners. And, when you have hard rock, the gold goes someplace, and the little stream that's alongside the road here between where I'm shooting this picture from and the mines in the distance, that little drainage has placer gold in it because it's shed off the deposits where the underground miners were working. Sometimes when you're looking for old placer workings, the bushes and trees may obscure them, but you may be able to see some old equipment that was used by miners, not of course in the 1800s, but in more recent times, maybe 50 or 75 or 80 years ago, like this shovel here. Sometimes when you're out exploring, you might be looking for signs of bulldozer pushing. Now, in this area where most of the soil is very much gray, and you see bulldozer pushing in an area where the soil is very red, and it might indicate a good area to search. And sure enough, this red soil area was very productive to nuggets with the metal detectors. Finally, another indicator that you might be looking for is man-made things. This is an old mill site. You got the concrete foundation for the stamps at the bottom and then the rock walls going up. And whenever you had a mill site like this on a hillside, they would always put the material in up top and use gravity to work the material down through the mill and recover the gold or silver. I have found some very nice visible gold specimens in areas that produce nice gold at the top of these mills where they would have put the material into the process.
Now, I've found gold in this area that I'm testing before, but the areas that I know I have found gold in the past, I've detected them and tested and detected, and pretty much I've got them beat to death. And that's a thing that gets a lot of prospectors. They may go out and they may have some success and they might find some gold, and they keep working the same spot over and over and over and over. Eventually the good gold is gone. You know, they've gotten the best stuff, and then they get discouraged. You know, I talk about perseverance. Well, I'm now checking areas outside of the areas where I've had success, maybe adjoining to them. And you know, that's a good suggestion. If you've had success, try areas upstream or downstream or on a different side of the hill or a nearby area. That's the way to try and find new places, because you know, you keep looking, and you know, if I don't find anything more up here, you know, that's just how it is. Like I say, I've got that hydro working that I've got to test, and I'm excited about that. So there's always new things that you're going to find if you keep your eyes open, you stay persistent, and you don't give up and keep trying. That's basically one of the big keys to success in gold prospecting. You know, and when you're out, always enjoy yourself. You know, have an ice box with some cold drinks, and if you need to take a break and sit down and have a cold drink, relax for a minute, you know, that's good. A big part of persistence is enjoying the time you have. I like getting out here, even though I don't know if you can see off in the distance over there, a lot of this area was burned in the last 10 years, and it's just not as pretty as it once was, but it's still great to get out here. It's still good. You know, I've found gold here, like I said, in the past, and so I've got a lot of good memories, and I can look back on those good memories, remember that, and enjoy a cold one in the afternoon when it's hot, and just relax and you know, get a bit of refreshment, and then once I've had a rest and a cold drink, you know, I'm ready to get back out and start detecting again. And eventually I know I'm going to find some gold. I've done this before. You know, I've persisted and stayed with it, and so I know that I can find the gold if I just hang on and keep working at it. Okay, so I'm filming this a few days later, and now I get to tell you the rest of the story, which is a really good one. Now, I said, you were just listening to me, you know, when I was talking in the previous filming, that I had confidence that if I stuck with my plan and kept exploring and kept looking around, that I'd get into some good gold. Hey, I was right. So I was on, that trip was a 3-day trip, and I had made plans, and I told you in the video that you just were watching that I'd been out and I hadn't found any gold. Well, that video was filmed at the end of day 2 of a 3-day trip. And I struck some really nice gold on the 3rd day, the day after I did that filming. So I have to do this explanation afterwards, because I said I have confidence that I stick with this and keep exploring, I'm going to find some good gold. Well, hey, on that 3rd day, the next day after I shot this video, I found some really nice gold. Now, I had done my home research, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but I'd done my home research and, considered various factors like, I'd found gold in the general area before. And so, what I learned from the places where I'd found gold in that general area, plus the geology and that sort of thing, plus there are some older workings in that general area, and you put them all together with other factors like, I looked at Google Earth and kind of figured on things. And you put those factors all together, and I made for myself a 3-day plan. I figured out 3 different locations that I wanted to go look for gold. And so on day 1, I went out to one of them, and I didn't get any gold. And day 2, I went out to the second one, and didn't get any gold. That was when I filmed the video, it was at the end of day 2. So I stuck with it though. I told you guys to be persistent. I was too. I was persistent. I went out there on day 3 and did really well. Day 3 was golden. I found 3 real nice nuggets, including one that was almost 1/4 of an ounce. The total for the 3 nuggets is over 10 grams, which is around 1/3 of an ounce. Now, when I go back there in the future, because obviously I will go back, I'm going to be tracking where I find the nuggets. In fact, I'm going to go back to the spots where I found those 3, and I'm going to take latitude, longitude coordinates, and I'm going to plot on a map where I'm finding this gold to try and trace it, because the goal is, okay, you've found some nuggets in an area that's new to you and you haven't found any gold yet. You want to trace it and see where it's coming from. And that's what I'm going to do. So getting the coordinates of them, and I'll detect generally out there again a few more times and take the coordinates of those, and I'll plot it on a map and see if I can't trace it out to some place where it's coming from. And it's probably not coming from just a spot, but maybe from a line or an area. But the source area is going to be really good. It's going to be better even than the 3 nuggets in a day that are a total 1/3 of an ounce. So I expect that I will be finding some real nice gold this summer, and I will be tracing that and on the trail of finding the heart of that patch. I mean, it is already 3 nice nuggets makes a patch, but I'll be tracing it up and tracing it and see if I can't find the heart of that patch, the source of that patch, where that gold is coming from. That might be really good. Now let me show you the gold that I found.
First, here's the 3 nuggets as they came out of the ground. Now, these actually have been washed off or rinsed off, and so there's not loose dirt on them. They just have a lot of iron oxides, and they've never been tumbled around in any stream, and so they look iron stained and rusty. I've actually had gold come out of the ground in this general area that really just looks like a piece of nondescript cast iron. But when you put a magnet to it, of course, if it's cast iron, the magnet's going to want it. But if it's gold, the magnet won't see anything that it wants. And here's the same 3 nuggets after spending a few days in a iron stain, rust stain remover chemical that you can buy. It's a product called Wink, and you can get it at Walmart and other places. Anyway, you can see much more gold showing, but I've lost about 4/500ths of a gram of material that just was iron oxides. And so there's quite a bit of iron oxides on these, but they clean up real good. And after spending a while in a bath, they are much prettier.
So in finding the gold, that reinforces the lesson that I keep telling you guys when you're out in the field. Be persistent, stay at it. I found on the 3rd day of a 3-day trip, but there's no guarantee that I would have found it on the 3rd day. Maybe I'd have to come out for another trip of 3 days or 2 days or 5 days or whatever and keep looking and looking. That's the key. Gold is rare stuff, and you have to keep looking in order to make a strike. Now shortly I will be doing a video on techniques of home research, of tools and things you can use to help you get out in the field and select these places like the places that I selected. And so we're going to talk about home research just a little bit, because when you do your home research, you're going to consider where the old timers found the gold, and if you've found any gold in that area before, you know people who have, where they've found gold. The favorable geology, we'll talk about that. The favorable geology, whether it's a certain kind of rock or whether it's a contact of a couple of different rocks. We talked about that a little bit. You know, claim boundaries and stuff. I've done whole videos on mining claims and doing claim research, but we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And you know, other factors using Google Earth and that kind of stuff. You know, whether or not you're in a deserty type of environment or a forest type of environment, whether you've got water or no water, you know, all that kind of stuff plays a part in making a plan. And so when you make a plan, you know, when you're thinking about this kind of research, you got to make a written plan. You got to have, not just like, oh, I'm going to go out to some place and I'll just wander around, see what I find, see if I see anything. It's way better to have some thoughts. Well, I'm going to go out to such and such a place. I'm going to look for such and such a rock type. I'm going to look for drainages. I'm going to be looking at this and that. Maybe if I see any sign of old timer workings, even if they're really small and I couldn't see them on Google Earth, you know, all that kind of stuff is part of your plan. And get out and explore. That's the whole key. You can do home research forever and ever, and if you never get out in the field to explore, you're not going to be finding any gold. And so get out there and have your plan and be persistent and stick to it. And keep your eyes open. You know, I talked about some of those different areas. I showed you some pictures of places with old timer workings and that kind of stuff, or different signs of people being there where it's going to be productive for gold. So keep your eyes open for stuff like that. And that's really the key, one of the big keys to finding gold, to exploration success when you're out prospecting. So be sure to keep those in mind and stay tuned for that video that's coming soon on home research. Now, I have a special announcement, something kind of exciting that I want to talk to you about, and I'll get to that right now. I have teamed up with a company called High Plains Prospectors. They're an outfit that does mail order prospecting equipment of all types, from metal detectors to sluice boxes, pans, high bankers. They pretty much carry it all. The one thing they don't carry is dry washers, but I'm working with them on that. And you know, some of the times these things take time, but they have really a very full stock of all different kinds of prospecting equipment. And what I've worked out with them is for you guys to get a 5% discount on everything that they sell. Now, I think that's a good deal. And you know, I don't do Patreon or memberships or some of that other stuff where I would ask you guys just to give me money to do my videos. That doesn't seem right. But to say, hey guys, you can get a 5% discount by going to this company, then you know, that's a deal where you win and I get a little percentage too, and I win and the company wins and you get good prospecting equipment. Hey, that's a good deal, you know. Don't go out and buy anything that you don't want or don't need, but if you're looking to buy some prospecting equipment, that's a good place to go. The discount code for getting the 5% off is Chris Ralph, all caps, CHRIS, RALPH, no space between Chris and Ralph. I put it on the screen here. And you can go on their catalog, use that discount code, and you'll get 5% off. And I'm going to start putting links in some of the descriptions that I have to various things like my book. In the past, I've sold my book through Amazon, and hey, Amazon is good, but you know, it's good to have prospecting supply equipment places that are there and in business and available. I've ordered stuff from them, and you know, I was real happy with my order, and so I can recommend to you that that you know, you'll be happy with the order that you put. Anyway, so I'm going to start putting links in my description. Like for my book, it's going to be, instead of a link to Amazon, it'll be a link to High Plains Prospectors, to their site to get their book. And again, you can, by using that discount code, you can get 5% off, and using the link, I'll get a little bit of percentage. And you know, everybody wins. I'm not asking you to pay money just for the videos because you like me. I just feel uncomfortable with that. And so I feel a lot better about getting you good prospecting related supplies, be it metal detectors, like I say, everything they've got pretty much full stock. And in fact, I hope to have a really special metal detector. It's going to be a new guy's metal detector, something that's for the new prospector, maybe a first time metal detector, you know, that you don't have $1 zillion to spend on a metal detector. And this is going to be, I think, something really good. If you watched my last video where I talked with the guys from Fisher Metal Detector, you heard a little bit about it. And if you missed that video, well, you might want to go back and listen to what we said about this new detector. But I'm hoping to bring it to you in the coming months. And believe me, when it's out and ready, you'll hear about it on this channel. And we'll be able to talk more about it. But I think this development with High Plains is a real exciting one, and I hope to be doing more stuff with them in the future, and you'll hear more about it on my videos. Now, in all of my videos, you know, I always talk about how what you know is basically the lead-in for your success. That the more knowledge you have about where gold is and how to find gold, the more likely you are to be successful in actually finding the gold. And so in order to impart that knowledge to you, to give you that knowledge, I wrote a book. It's called Fistful of Gold, because that's what I want you to have, is Fistful of Gold. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So this is my book, Fistful of Gold. You can see it's an encyclopedia distilling down my 45 plus years of prospecting experience plus my degree into the parts that you need to know. I spent most of 10 years writing this. It was not just a simple effort that, I sat down and wrote it. You can see it's like 250,000 words. It's not something you're going to read through in a day or maybe even a week or more. But it's got a lot of information and reference material that you can come back to. You know, you can read it once and read it again and get more out of it, because there's just that much depth of material in this. I wrote this book because I want you to have the skills to go out and find fistfuls of gold for yourself. And if you have the skills and know what you're doing and get out in the field and make a real effort, you can find significant gold. It's not easy. I'm not going to tell you that, because, you know, gold, it wouldn't be, you know, close to $2,000 an ounce, which is what it is right now. It wouldn't be so expensive if it was easy to find. It's not easy. You just can't walk out into an old gold field and start picking up nuggets. If the gold was easy to see and find, the old timers would have picked it up and taken it themselves. So you got to have skill. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be able to master what it takes to find gold, and you've got to have the persistence and put in the effort to find the material, to find the gold or diamonds or gemstones that you're looking for. Now, book has geology, it has facts about gold, it has stuff about diamonds and platinum, but it's mostly about gold deposits, how gold deposits form, how placer and nuggets form, you know, all the questions you probably wanted to ask. The book is available on Amazon, and I'll put a link to it in the description below, but you can look up on Amazon, Fistful of Gold, and by Chris Ralph, and find this book. Now, the book, if you look on it, it has a very high rating. It has like a 4.7 or 4.8 out of 5, which is really high. I mean, it's hard to please everybody, but I'm close to a 5 out of 5, not far from it, right? So it's been out. I've sold more than 15,000 copies of this book, and I've had tremendous response, tremendous positive response by the people who buy it. And I think if you buy it, you'll be just as happy with it. Now, in addition to my book, I also have a website that I do, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my website and show you some images from the website right now. Now, my website is nevadaoutbackgems.com, and I'll put a link to the prospecting page, this prospecting encyclopedia page, down in the description below, but you can find it at Nevada Outback Gems. I sell some jewelry, turquoise, other gemstones there. I don't always keep the inventory perfectly up to date, so if you're interested in anything you see, do contact me first before trying to send me money or anything, because I want you to be able to get what you order. But the website has lots of different stories, old adventures, even some stories, true stories from the old-time miners of the 1800s. So I think it's something you'll find interesting. The other thing I want to go back to is that all my comments, I want you guys to ask questions on the comments for my videos. I answer 100% of the comments that are made on my videos. Now, sometimes if somebody just says, hey, great video, I really enjoyed it, the comment may just be, well, I'm really glad you liked it. Or if it's a simple question, and sometimes I get people who ask me questions, I would take a book to answer that question, and I recommend that they just buy the book. But I answer all my questions. I try to help people as much as I can. I'm here to help you. So if you're interested in gaining the skills, if you're interested in knowing what you need to know to be successful, follow along with me. Subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so that they'll let you know when I come out with new videos, and I try to do that pretty much every Saturday morning. And you'll enjoy with me, you'll come along with me, we'll have an adventure together, and we will find some nice gold and see what it's really like getting out in the woods, or the deserts, or the mountains, wherever we land, wherever the gold is, wherever the diamonds are, wherever the platinum is. Come along, we'll have some fun. And I'll see you real soon on the next video.